to the Metaverse Insiders interview series. My name is Josh, and in today's episode, we speak to the Global Director of Innovation at Magnopus, Solomon Rogers. Stay tuned to learn how Magnopus is reshaping the entertainment industry and what it means for the marriage between storytelling and immersive experiences. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Sol. Really appreciate your time.
My absolute pleasure. Great to be here.
So, to kickstart our conversation, can you please provide us with a brief introduction to yourself and how it is you came to be the Global Director of Innovation at Magnopus?
So yeah, my name's Sol Rogers. I founded a company called Rewind about 10 years ago, and we became Magnopus about two years since then. And we started the company really because we realized that we didn't want to just make movies anymore. We were making movie and TV shows, and we realized that there's something magical about that medium, but times are changing and audiences want to be more involved with stories. And we thought there's got to be a way for people to step into movies, or for movies to step into our world. And so we've been rallying around virtual reality, augmented reality, extended reality, pushing forward into mixed now, and looking at how some of these new technologies may lean into something that some people are calling the metaverse.
What an interesting approach to content-focused entertainment. Not many entertainment companies are actively involved in the technology surrounding all of those immersive reality experiences. Do you currently have a preference concerning virtual, augmented, or extended reality?
Personally, I'm very excited where augmented reality is moving towards mixed, where we're going to end up with glasses like these, which allow us to enhance and layer in, basically real-time visual effects. What do we want to add to our world? Digital televisions? Do we want to add in holographic meetings? Do we want to have a digital pet dragon? Everything is going to kind of evolve with these glasses that do AR. And I think that's probably the most important part of what's going to happen over the next kind of 5 years. So I think mixed reality, the sort of augmented reality head-worn glasses, are the really exciting bit.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. People still struggle with the action of using VR headsets. It's almost too immersive for its own good, to the point where motion sickness can take over. But still, that's why I think augmented reality is definitely the way forward. Would you say that we're far off having these sorts of concepts that you were just describing?
No, I think we're already there. It's just very expensive. It's the 80s mobile phone of, the technology. It's huge, weighty, heavy, costs $10,000 a minute to do anything, and there's not that many people you can call. So, but where it's been a rapid acceleration, as for the technology adoption, where we're going to see things get lighter, cheaper, faster, better. And in the next wave of devices that are going to come out, I think we're going to see some real sea change. We already have them, the HoloLens, the Magic Leap, Nreal, etc. Even the Meta Quest Pro, which is even more of a cost-effective solution. They're all showing this idea of another reality where the glasses not only are replacing our reality with something completely different, but just enhancing and adding into it.
Well, that's just the thing. It's about trying to make sure it's as efficient as possible to enable mass production at affordable rates. So could you please share with us some examples of the work that you've done with Magnopus in the VR, AR, metaverse space, and how it's resonated with the audiences that have already used them?
Sure. We feel quite lucky, and we try to be as humble as we are, but we have many different technology companies and studios come to us and ask us really to engage them on R&D activity to bring IPs to new audiences, or bring audiences to their IP, or try out new types of content and format. And so we've been doing a lot of that work across the board. Ones that I'm really proud of that we worked on, and we worked with Meta and Facebook to produce a piece of content called Mission ISS. The Mission ISS allows anybody to become an astronaut. Through virtual reality, you put the headset on and you travel to the International Space Station, and you have to complete some missions, and you have to get to understand what the ISS is all about. And one of the key takeaways is we've been trying to give people the feeling of the overview effect. And the overview effect is when astronauts go to space, they get to look back down on a planet and realize how small it is, and how the borders don't matter, and humanity is actually one human race. And there's something special and magical about that. We're not quite, it's not fully going to space, but we're very proud to have just broken 4 million virtual astronauts have gone to the ISS using our technology. So we're very proud of that. And we got to work with NASA very closely, which was really exciting. Another project we created in the VR space was with Pixar. So Pixar had a movie called Coco come out, and they wanted to see what it was like to allow their audience to step into the movie. We got to work with the most amazing artists and storytellers, took their world and created an interactive VR space where the experience was driven by multiplayer, by people going in and as a group. So it's not a one-player game or experience. You have to go in with 4 people, and those 4 people create their own stories, create their own experiences, their own memories of really doing these activities together whilst being surrounded by this beautiful, magical world of Coco. And it was a real proof point of how, when we are building these new spaces, it has to be built on a framework around people. People want to connect, whether they are, themselves or their digital avatars or anything else. They really want to connect. And that led us on to one of our very large projects. We worked with the Dubai Expo, which is the last World's Fair, and their team were building a new 4 square kilometer city, basically, with every single country being represented, over 190 of them, with pavilions, with World Fair, with education and technology, showing what the best of humanity is. And they realized there was a challenge that only those that could physically attend, so those that could afford to go, were ever going to see this world, this content. So we set about creating a exact digital twin of the entire site. Every country, every piece of interactivity, every piece of content, so that anyone in the world could come together through a digital platform, and with another 100 odd people, walk around this site and experience all the content, the mini games, experience, and everything else. And so it really gave us the idea of what this metaverse space could be. The most powerful part was because it was a digital twin, we could marry the two together. So the virtual people were walking around exactly where the physical people were. And when you held up your phone on site in AR, you would see not only the digital dragon flying around of the fountain at midday, but you'd also see the people from around the world walking the streets, and you could interact with them. So this idea that there's a reality that's always there that can be synced together, be it cross reality of physical or digital, the Expo project really proved out where we could go with that sort of technology and where the metaverse will take us.
Oh, fantastic. It's so interesting. So speaking of which, going into the digital twin aspect, that's absolutely booming at the moment, especially across the industrial metaverse space. So concerning your current and previous projects, there's a very fine balance between storytelling and actual user experience. So would you say that creates many challenges in the wake of finding a balance between creating a good story, but also rendering it immersive using these new technologies?
Yeah, there's always a tension. And I think that people have always thought that one medium will replace the next. Books will replace theatre, and radio will replace that, and TV will replace radio, and movies will replace, none of it's going to replace. We just get new ways for humanity to communicate and tell its stories. We believe, though, that it's all game design. It's all computer games design. And game design is interactivity design, basically, and user experience. And so even linear storytelling has some part of game design as part of creating those types of content, and how the audiences engage with it, and what the space they're going to be placed within to see and experience something which is lean back. But so for us, when we're looking at the content, it's about what is the game design. It doesn't always have to be like points and unlocks and guns. Game design is just a simple loop of, what is the risk and the reward here? And I think that everything around us is actually built into human-centric design and game design. Even Twitter is a game. What can I post for the number of likes that I get? And so we've got to understand that with the content we create in that interactive space, it's just going to audience first. What is the story, the experience, the feeling that we want someone to get from this? And then we craft as best we can moments to bring that out, so that the person has those feelings and experiences at the end of it.
So that ties in quite closely with my next question. With the increase in popularity of the metaverse, it's almost generated a snowball-like effect. Maybe not quite as much as the last year, as AI has kind of the spotlight at this moment in time. But in ensuring that the metaverse experiences you create are still accessible and exclusive for a wide range of users, Would you say this is where you incorporate their opinions in order to try and create the best final products possible?
Absolutely. It's a very strange time where humanity has suddenly become aware of every other human on the planet. We used to be, very closed off to our village, to our town, to our city, to our country. And now, because of the internet and the next internet, the metaverse, we are interacting live with anybody else in the entire world. And so we have to take on their viewpoints, their opinions, their cultures, their needs, their wants, and also the way they tell their stories. It used to be you'd make a movie and you try and make it a blockbuster movie to entertain the most number of humans possible. And then you'd start doing edits and tweaks and changes to localize or bring it into a language or change its slight or cultural impact, or even change the ending fully for different audiences. When we get to interactivity and kind of the metaverse space, there's some really interesting opportunities of making content adapt and change on the fly for individuals, for audiences, for cultures, and anywhere in between. And we can also make it completely change at the same time. So case in point, we worked with an American pop star called Madison Beer and created an experience that allows anyone to go to one of her concerts. The most beautiful concert in Sony Music Hall, and her as an incredible hyperreal avatar, which looked, just photoreal. The reality, though, is that in the audience, there could be 100 people, and they could all see the same performance, the same music, but her outfit could be different per individual. So the story is the same, the experience is the same, but it could be advertising-led, or it could be modesty-led, or culturally-led, or something that we wanted to tie into that audiences to give it a slightly different feel and flavor. And because it's all rendered in real time, it can all be changed on the fly, and it allows us to make stuff which is really tailored to meet audience needs and wants.
Oh, that's really cool. I mean, aside from the occasional concert, do you have any intentions to expand upon these gig type environments and experiences?
One of the wonderful things about music is that it's a moment in time. And we are all, especially post-COVID, looking for those opportunities to come together as humanity and enjoy and celebrate. And music has that deep connection to us. And so the music performance and that cross-reality expansion is really, really being deeply looked at. We're heavily in the space, looking at what it means for an artist and the performer, but also from the other side, the business of music. How does the industry currently operate? But how will it evolve to operate in the future? With the impact of generative tools that can be available, but audiences and their wants and desires changing, but also the amount of how people want to kind of, travel the world to see their artists or have their artists come and see them through different technology. So everything's kind of up for grabs. It's not going to change, going to a physical concert. I think there's something magical about that. But I think we're going to have more and more touch points to engage with things we love.
Oh, absolutely. So increasing accessibility across the board. I can think of many a times when I've been unable to see a band due to geographical barriers, and this is definitely the closest you can get to physical immersion.
Yeah.
Well, that's the wrap for part one of our conversation with Sol Rogers, the Global Director of Innovation at Magnopus. Be sure to stay tuned for weekly updates in the industry and content covering all things Metaverse. Follow the Metaverse Insider on Twitter and LinkedIn, and visit metaverseinsider.tech for all our content. Thank you for joining us, and until next time.